All right, so first of all, thank you everyone for showing up. I'm sure all of you are in different time zones, so we appreciate you making this time to pop in. Like Anshiv said, this is our first workshop geared towards helping you guys, getting you guys set up and running for this hackathon. So I'm going to assume no prior knowledge. I'm going to assume that you all are starting from not knowing what a hackathon is and kind of build my way up to explaining how you guys will come up with an idea, work with your team, work over these next 12 weeks, end up uh, presenting at the very end. So I'll just give you like an overview of how the summer is going to go. Uh, I'm hearing someone's voice right now. Can everyone just mute themselves like on should? All right, so if you guys, I'm hoping everyone can see my screen. I'm assuming they can, but we're just gonna get started. So hi, we're the three organizers in the chat right now are me, Ansh, and then I forgot Didi was gonna be here, so I didn't add her name, but that's all right. There's also Didi Zhao in here, and we're gonna get started. So first of all, what is a hackathon? So first off, what is Freetail? We're a student organization here at UT that organizes hackathons every year, about two a year. And the two that I'm showing on the screen are Hack Texas and Leap Hacks. Both happened this past school year. So the goal of hackathons is for you to build a product or a project over a short period of time, typically 12 hours. So they range from 24 hours to 48 hours.
Works.
And over this time, you have the freedom and the resources to build almost anything you want with almost any technology, any hardware you can imagine, and with the support of company mentors and hackathon mentors. So obviously, because this is a virtual summer hackathon, this summer hacks is going to be very different from any hackathon you might have heard of or attended before in your life. So we're going to be changing up a little bit, and we went over a lot of that in the opening ceremony. So if you guys didn't have a chance to watch that video, go ahead and do that. It's on our YouTube channel. So the way this is going to work is, actually, I'll go over that in a second. First off, if you guys haven't joined the Slack yet, go ahead and do that because that's where we're going to give you all of our updates. That's the main point of communication. So go ahead and scan that QR code. If you can't scan it for some reason, just text one of us, one of the organizers privately, and we'll go ahead and add you directly. So that's not a big deal. Just make sure you're on here because that's the only way you're going to know what's happening. All right, so let's start off with a couple of resources that I think are going to be really helpful for you as you guys proceed through the process of doing this virtual hackathon for the first time. So the first thing on the list, and this is something that Freetail has been working on for the past, I think, month, is the Ultimate Hackathon Starting Guide. This is basically a Git repo that we've put together containing almost tutorials, resources, tips, tricks on almost any kind of hackathon project that you might be considering working on. So I'm going to go through that guide in a second, but I'm just going to finish up the slide real quick. Another resource that we're going to have at your disposal are mentors, both professors at UT, experienced students about to go into the workforce, or people who are currently working in industry. We have a really talented team of mentors, and we're really excited to have you guys meet them. More information about that will be going on out in the upcoming week, but stay tuned. They're also going to be a really useful resource for you guys as someone you can talk to on a one-on-one basis and really learn from. We also have a list of potential projects. So this is if you decide to build one of these projects that actual people want to use. Think of it as like a mini internship that you can get to put on your resume. That's also something that will be going out. And we also have the project proposal, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But that's to help you figure out what you're going to build and present it in a fashion that companies will expect of you, and you can stay organized better. So let's go into the Ultimate Hackathon Starting Guide, UHFG. And I'm assuming you guys can see the Git repo that I have on my screen right now. So this is, if you guys haven't used Git or any kind of version control before, I would recommend popping into the workshop we're having tomorrow evening, again at 9 p.m. about version control. That's something you guys should definitely check out if you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But back to with the Ultimate Hackathon Starting Guide. This is a compilation of different tutorials, resources, tips, and tricks that we as the organizers found really useful at all the hackathons we've been to in our lives. So we've been working on this for the past couple weeks, and we've organized it like this. We're always looking for a contribution. So if you take a look at this, you realize that there's a resource or something that you think would be useful for other people, go ahead and add that. And the information to add stuff is down here. So make sure you check that out if you are interested in contributing. But back to what this is. So let's say I'm a first-time hacker. I'm looking to get started, looking to try and understand what's going on. The first place I should start at is the where'd it go? The hackathon logistics. There it is. So this is going to talk you through what exactly a hackathon is. So a lot of this is in term for in-person hackathon where you're going to be in a room with a bunch of other hackers. But because that's not the case here, we're going to talk more about just the idea behind a hackathon. The idea is you're given the resources that you might need, all the resources you might need to build any kind of project. That ultimate creativity with your team that you get to build something which you get to pitch, demo, and present, and hopefully win a prize with at the very end of a hackathon. So this is going to kind of walk you through what exactly a hackathon is, how you should build, what you should bring to a hackathon. And then the next step in the hackathon process is to come up with an idea. This is a really important process, especially if you're going into a really long hackathon like the one where you guys are about to begin. Because if you start off with an idea that you aren't really excited about, that not everyone in your team is completely behind, you're going to run into the problem where your team loses motivation a couple of weeks in. You guys slowly dwindle away. You stop putting as much time into the hackathon as you intended to at the very beginning. In the very end, you end up with a project that you're not very proud of. That's why when you're about to start a hackathon, it's important that you take a lot of time to really go into and think about an idea that everyone on the team is really excited about. So we have a lot of tips that we think will help you find an idea that everyone's excited about and is doable within the time frame. So I'd recommend you read through this as well. Okay, yeah. So yeah, and all these resources. So if let's say you're interested, you narrow down. You're like, I want to do something with computer vision. So you'd go to this guide. You'd click on the computer vision tree, and you would go through. You'd read this, and we linked a whole bunch of resources for you guys to check out here. From everything from deciding whether computer vision is the right tool for your project, to picking the tools that you should use while you're building this project, and linking more tutorials as you go through. So there's almost every topic that we think is relevant for a hackathon in this guide. So make sure you check it out if you are interested. So that's the main resource that we have built for you guys in terms of what Freetail has worked on for the past couple weeks. I don't see any questions, so I'm just going to keep going. If you guys have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat or save them for the end. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to focus a little bit more about ideation, like I said before, because this by far is the most important part of a hackathon. If you end up with a really cool idea, but your team doesn't have the skills to really follow through, or even the motivation to really follow through, then you're going to run into a problem where you just bang your head against a wall and can't really build the thing that you're intending to. Or what you build is far short of what your original expectations. So it's important to balance both of these things. Usability or buildability, I guess, like how likely your team is to actually be able to build this project versus how excited you guys are. It can't be too boring because then you'll finish it within a couple of days and not have anything to do. It can't be too out of the box, crazy inventive either, because that might not be doable at all. Or it might be, I don't know, but that's for you guys to gauge. That's for you guys to decide where your team falls into and what exactly you guys think you're gonna be able to build. So the main resource, again, I'm gonna go back to the starter guide just because we put a lot of work into really making sure everything over here is important. But the main resource for you guys to figure out what you're gonna build is your team. What works for Ansh, Didi, and I when we go to hackathons, when we're trying to come up with an idea, is just sit down and come up with a list of ideas. So come up with 20, 30, 40 ideas, just throw them all on a whiteboard or a Google Doc because you're all virtual. And no matter how insane, no matter how undoable the idea might sound, just write it down. And as you guys keep doing this for, I guess, 30, 40 minutes, you guys will slowly realize which ideas you guys are really passionate about, which ideas just you kind of threw out there but aren't very doable. In this initial brainstorming phase, don't worry about any of the constraints I mentioned before, doability, how boring it is, how interesting it is. Just throw ideas onto your brainstorming sheet. And slowly, as you progress through, you'll end up with a set of 3 to 5 ideas, hopefully, that you are really passionate about, that you think you can build. Now, that's probably the stage where, that's probably the most difficult decision you have to make, because you're passionate about all the ideas that you've filtered out by the very end, and you need to pick one to work on. Well, one thing that we talked about is that there isn't as much pressure to pick the right idea for this hackathon as there is usually for most hackathons, because you do have a longer time frame. If you mess up, you pick an idea that isn't actually as doable as you originally thought, you can always backtrack and go back to one of your original ideas, because after all, you have a lot of time. So that's one thing to take a little bit of pressure off as you guys finalize your idea. Something else you can always rely on is talking to your mentor. Sometimes your mentor might have a lot of experience in one specific field, in which case it's probably a good idea to pick a project that falls inside that field, because then they'll be able to guide you at a deeper, more nuanced level, as opposed to you picking something that they don't know anything about. So that's also something we would highly recommend. Talk with your mentor and figure out what exactly they can really help you with. One final thing that I want to bring up while we're talking about ideation and building is that at the very beginning, you should come up with two separate lists. One is for your MVP, your minimally viable product, which is the thing that you absolutely need to have done by the end of the hackathon, no excuses. That's a bare bones functional product that you can show off, and maybe not, it's not everything you expected, but at least you can show it off and be proud of it. It works. The second half of that list is for all the bells and whistles that you want to add. And that can naturally be very long, very ambitious, and have a lot of different nuances to it. The important thing is that once you finish the MVP, that's you're set to go, and then you can always start adding stuff. It doesn't matter if you break anything because you can always revert back to your original MVP. So I'd recommend whenever you start building your project, work in that stages. Come up with an idea, develop an MVP for it, and then add a bunch of bells and whistles as you progress through the hackathon. So if you have no questions, I'm going to head over to my next topic. So again, while you're trying to pick up an idea, you might be a little bit intimidated or by how many ideas you potentially could build. Or on the flip side, you're at a complete loss. You have no idea what to build because you don't know, you've never been to hackathon before. Either way, we're here to help. Something that we try to do to, I guess, structure your projects better is divide our prizes into 6 categories. And as it says on the screen right now, they're education, social good, COVID relief, economic relief, entertainment or social media, and health/medicine. So real quick, I'm just going to give you guys an example of different things that could fall into each of these categories just to maybe help jumpstart some of your ideas. So first of all, for education, this could be something from maybe helping people collaborate better on school assignments to helping teachers enforce academic honesty in a better way. Something to help the student-to-student interaction while we're virtual. I'm just thinking of things that, so probably a good way to think about this, because we're all students, I'm assuming, is, or have been students at some point in our life, is to think of something that could have really helped you while you're a college student, a high schooler, middle schooler, elementary schooler. Think about a project or a problem that you had and try to address that problem specifically through your project. So this is something that I think is a really big place that a lot of people could build a cool project because we've all had experiences, both positive and negative, with education. A second thing is social good. And this can range from anything from, for example, media reliability, figuring out what news sites are reliable and what sites aren't, to helping disperse charity funds in a more efficient manner, having companies be more transparent. Anything that you think might help the society as a whole progress and be like a tangible benefit to society. Next is COVID relief, a very broad term because this has aspects in both medicine, economic status, politics, and entertainment. This falls in pretty much every category. So this is a really big category, but especially we want you guys to focus on the current crisis that we're having. So it's both broad in terms of what you can build, but both very specific in terms of its impact. So that's something to keep in mind if you're working on building something for COVID relief. Next, again, is economic relief, and this is focused more on helping people deal with, for example, the mass unemployment that we have right now. That could, depending on how you build it, it could fall either under COVID relief or economic relief. Help people manage their money better, help people invest their spare change, like Acorn, for example. Ideas like that would fall under economic relief because they're to do with helping people manage their money. Entertainment or social media, again, a lot of options here. Couple projects that I've seen before. Sharing, what is it? It was something like a Netflix party, but for YouTube. So while helping people watch YouTube links together at the same time while also video calling. So you can have a lot of different projects here. It's very open-ended. So let your imagination go wild for this area too. And finally, health and medicine. Again, a really important area today, from anything to do with telemedicine to machine learning to help doctors predict what kind of disease you have to almost anything to do with improving human health. So again, a very broad spectrum right there for you guys. Of course, we want you guys to focus your project, or in the end, submit your project to only one of these categories. So make sure that whatever you do in the end does fall under one of these categories if you're aiming to win one of our prizes. Of course, you're free to build whatever you want, but if you don't fall under one of these, you won't be eligible to win a prize. Team dynamics. Okay. This is something that we as the organizers have been thinking about a lot. Because in a typical hackathon, this isn't a big issue because everyone's there at the same table for 24 to 48 hours. And if you have any conflicts, it's pretty easy to resolve because you're all there face to face. And you're usually with your friends and people you know vaguely. This we anticipate could be a little prickly sometimes because you're all communicating through a virtual medium, which isn't known for its nuances. It's very easy to misinterpret what someone says over text. And you also might be partnered on your team with people you've never met before from different cultures, different countries, different time zones. So we were thinking that there might be a lot of potential for conflicts. And I guess the best advice that we have for you guys in terms of managing team dynamics and ensuring that you guys work together well is to communicate everything. I read some article the other day about working in the age of Corona, and the advice essentially is boiled down to oversharing is better than sharing, at least in a professional context. So even if you guys think that this might not be something is relevant, like your time zone, for example, it's probably best just to share it with your team at the onset, just so you're all on the same page. So you should share everything from, as long as you're comfortable with it, of course, your time zone, your potential other commitments over the summer if you're working. If you're going to be unavailable for certain times of the day, just share everything to make sure that everyone on your team works pretty well at the same time. In terms of collaboration tools, we're leaving that mostly up to you guys. We do have the Slack open for you guys to make groups or anything, but again, that's open. That you guys are able to do whatever you guys want. Definitely would recommend using a version control system though too, because if you don't, writing code together is going to be a huge headache. And again, for people who might not have heard, we're having a version control workshop tomorrow evening. Make sure you tune in if you don't know what I'm talking about right now. It'll be useful, I promise. And finally, in terms of team dynamics, if anything comes up, you're uncomfortable with someone on your team, they said something that made you feel kind of icky in the end, feel free to reach out to any one of the organizers, and we can put you in touch with, we can either handle the situation or put you in touch with people who are more qualified to handle the problem based on whatever it is. So please communicate with us too if anything happens that we should be aware of. I think I've beaten this to death, but upcoming workshop tomorrow, version control systems, specifically Git and GitHub, tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central, probably at the same link, but we'll keep you guys updated. But yeah, definitely show up to this. Questions? It was a lot of material. I threw a lot of resources out at you guys. I see Didi threw the GitHub starting guide link in the chat. Thank you. So yeah, you guys should check that out. Definitely check that out. Let us know if you have any questions in the Slack.
That's a great question. Miles here asks how you're going to be paired with mentors. So by the end of this week, we're going to have you submit a project proposal form, which is going to include all of your teammates as well as the project you're going to be doing, including some of the technologies you think might be required for your project. And then over the weekend, what we're going to do, we're going to compile a list of our mentors as well as what technical skills they have. And we're going to do our best to pair you specifically with a mentor who can help you specifically with your project. And then sometime over the weekend, I don't know exactly when, but we'll definitely keep you guys updated. We will tell you who your mentor is and encourage you to either Slack them or email them to start exchanging information.
Yeah, so that list will be sent out very soon, I think. When did we decide we were going to send that list out?
I think this weekend.
Actually, I think it was going to be like tomorrow or something. Keep an eye on the announcements channel. It'll be right there.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah, so you're free to have as many or up to 4 people on your team, or even 2 people. We would hope that you guys add more people, get the chance to meet some of these amazing applicants that we have. But yeah, you're free to have as few people as you want on your team. No problem, guys. That is a good question, Camille. So do mentors get paired one-on-one or one per team? Right now, we're aiming to do one per team. and then they can schedule individual meetings with you over the course of the next 12 weeks. So individual one-on-one meetings with every member of the team. We'll probably stay up on this call for a little bit if anyone has any last minute questions, but this is all we really had planned for this workshop specifically, because it's just more of an overall introduction and just an overall explanation of what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. So if you guys have more questions, just want to hang out, feel free to. Otherwise, thank you guys for showing up. I hope you have a great day or night, depending on your time zone, and I'll see you tomorrow at our workshop.